Hello and welcome to Citizens Forum. This is being filmed on Wednesday, July the 2nd in the beautiful Memorial Arena in Victoria. The first part of Citizens Forum is always the Walter and Jack Show. Walter, we've got a lot of topics to cover today because there's so much happening. So we're going 2 minutes per topic. Number one is the flooding in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. I just want to say no mention of climate change in the media or from the politicians. This could be a very bad year coming up because, according to the experts, the Pacific Ocean is warmer than usual, cropland is being lost, farmland underwater, unprecedented rainfall, according to the Premier Manitoba.
Well, you know, the prairies used to be an inland sea, Jack.
Yeah.
Used to be a big sea from the foothills to Winnipeg or past Winnipeg. And with these type of rainfalls, we might just see another big lake there after a few years. You never know.
Yeah. Lake Agassiz, I remember. So keep that one in mind. I mean, it's the weather. This could be a very strange weather year, and we'll see.
It's very chaotic, and farming is a hard business to make a living at in the best of times, and this sort of thing just wipes crops out and creates a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
So it could be devastating for the economy over the long run if they keep on having this type
And
of weather
it could be
events.
devastating for those of us who want to eat.
Exactly.
California, the drought, I don't know what's happening. I've heard prices of produce is going up. I don't know. Haven't seen it. But again, California in a record drought. And again, nothing in the media mentioning climate change. So staff, have we used our 2 minutes up, or do we still have more time? Okay, moving on. Iraq and ISIS. I mean, behind all of this is the disaster of the U.S. attack on Iraq, which has led directly to the newest disaster, the poor people of Iraq.
Yeah, I always wonder where the name ISIS came from. We should find out, but it seems to me like another fabricated story. It looks like a public relations army. It's all U.S. weapons. All their ammunition's coming from the West. Like, somebody's paying these guys. They're not doing it for free.
Yeah, it's very possible. There have been reports that never make it into anywhere in the media that ISIS fighters have been trained in secret bases throughout the Middle East by American special forces, that the leaders of that group have worked with the American military intelligence or whatever. You just can't believe what we're being told is you just can't believe it.
Yeah, and it's almost a case of whatever you're being told, just flip it upside down.
Yeah.
And you're going to be closer to the truth.
This week was the 100th anniversary of, I guess, the beginning of World War I. We were given in the media the usual story of the heroic, brave young soldiers and the honor and the gallantry, and all of that is true. But what the media doesn't tell us is something that, for example, Gwyn Dyer, a Canadian columnist, who isn't carried anywhere in Canada because of the stuff he writes, but he's respected around the world and carried around the world. And what he wrote years ago, when he was still writing in a Canadian paper, was that things were so bad in the early 1900s that there was a worldwide movement towards socialism, and people were, the corporations of the day, the 1% of the 1% of that day, felt threatened. And so what they did, according to Dyer, was they deliberately started World War I. They pitted all these people who were against them, they pitted them against each other, and then they basically wiped them out.
And it created the severe right-wing movements and fascism throughout all the world, especially in Western Europe, that led to fascist regimes like the Nazis, that led to the Second World War, and really solidified the United States as this massive global military state that really carries the hammer now. Since then, they are the ones that go around and pretty well punishes anybody that wants to have democracy.
Yeah, and I know things like that are amazing because we never ever hear it, but we've got to keep that in our thoughts, that it's possible that the stories we're being told are not the truth, and the truth is being hidden. Like, for example, 9/11, same thing. Who benefited from that? The Supreme Court of Canada decision on First Nation land rights, like many of us, I have no idea what it's going to mean, but I really hope it starts to take us in better directions in many ways.
You know, this is one of those stories where I say you flip it upside down and you see what really could be. And I was wondering, was the Friends of the Conservative Party in the Supreme Court, why that decision was brought forward right now? Just a nice timing before the election to get these pipelines off the front burner, let's say, and because it's a no-win situation for the Conservatives. You know, these issues could devastate them. So now Supreme Court rules. Everybody knows they can't really get a pipeline through, so they can kind of take that off the agenda right now, and hope people's memories are pretty short. I think their public relations people know that a year is a long, long time in politics. People forget, and now they can start buttering us up one way or another for the next election. And right after the election, they'll be back at it again.
It'll be interesting to see also what impact this has on Christy Clark's liquefied natural gas lunacy. You know, the threat from that is also massive.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the bees, the loss of so many bees?
Well, you know, in 2006, I wrote an article on the effect of cell phone type radiation, electromagnetic radiation, on the bee behavior. And there was some early studies that showed that when you put a cordless phone base station beside a hive, the bees wouldn't return to the hive, or left the hive and couldn't find it again. And subsequently, there's been now scores and scores of studies all showing very radically altered bee behavior caused by this type of radiation. And
so cell phone, Wi-Fi radiation.
Cell phones, Wi-Fi, cordless phones, they all work on the same type of technology. And now the big story, Jack, is that it's pesticides or GMOs and stuff like that, and it's all over the news. Well, again, just flip it upside down and say, why are they pointing at this as the reason that the bees are dying off? Because they don't want to talk about the real reason, perhaps. And the one thing I read the other night was very important was an epidemiologist was saying that the bee collapse worldwide doesn't follow the epidemic model where, you know, when you have a global epidemic, Stephen, you usually can trace it back to a source. And there's an infection sort of path, and it broadens out. But in this case, it hasn't been that way at all. Simultaneously, all around the planet, in places that don't use pesticides, that don't use GMOs, like in India, dramatic collapses in their bee populations. Now, if you're a scientist, or if you're just anybody with any common sense, you see something dramatic happening like that in your environment, the first thing you'll say is, well, what has changed in our environment in the last 20 years worldwide? Well, about 5 billion cellular phones. And that's a lot of radiation in the environment, and I think it is the culprit. The infections and the parasites and these other opportunistic diseases, I think, arrive after the bees have been weakened to a point where they can't really function. So I think it's a very, very troubling thing, and I don't think the media is covering it.
Okay, moving on, still a lot of topics to cover. The next one is the hearing began for the couple accused in the so-called legislature bombings, or the Canada Day bombings from a year ago. And there are a lot of people who think that the police and the military, maybe the RCMP, CSIS, are behind the whole thing.
Well, you know, it looks a lot like the Boston bombing, where you get the CIA or whatever, they were coaching these guys for months and months and months. The same thing here. All of a sudden, this pair get these mysterious friends that drive up to their house all the time with SUVs with darkened out windows. And, you know, it's quite obvious that these two people are very troubled and without any resources whatsoever. And they were coached and enabled to try to do something. And I really don't think they were capable of even coming up with this idea at all.
So what the BC, you've got what the BC Civil Liberties
Well,
Association.
yeah, the Civil Liberties Association, BC Civil Liberties Association, has applied to the court to open up all the documents around the investigation for the police, and they said, we have serious concerns about the vulnerabilities of this couple and the possible tactics and actions of the police in the lead up to their arrest. So basically, you know, in my opinion, this is a fabrication. It's just another one of these just really outrageous things that some elements of the police get involved in. It really makes no sense whatsoever.
So this is the pre-trial hearing, and a jury trial is expected to begin in January
Yeah.
2015. Canada Day noise. Once again, I live about a mile, at least a mile from where the big celebrations for Canada Day were yesterday. This is filmed on July 2nd. And, you know, I was listening in my house once again to the rock and roll music that somebody wanted. And I'm not, you know, let's have Canada Day, that's great. If I'm the only one bothered by this, okay, I can put up with it. But if a lot of people don't think this is right, like, why should, you know, it can be done a lot more quietly with just having more speakers, you know, speakers instead of one huge speaker system blasting it out. Have a few speaker systems set up. You get better quality music. It doesn't have to be so loud. The people a mile away or 2 miles away don't have to listen to it. I mean, just have some respect. The people who are putting this on, which is the federal government, the provincial government, the city government, have some thoughtfulness and respect for the thousands of people who want to celebrate Canada Day in a different way.
You just need regulations, and they should be enforced, and then you don't have the problem. They're just doing this because there's absolutely nothing to restrict their behavior.
We were talking over coffee before this that Canadians should be discussing what kind of society we want. I mean, that's a very fundamentally important issue. What kind of society do we as Canadians want? And it's never really talked about. It's foisted upon us by the powers that be. But, you know, do we want more democracy? Do we want a free press? Do we want less poverty and homelessness? Do we don't want a different economic model? All these important issues somehow never get talked about.
Well, it's not good for the corporations if the public starts talking about what they would like to have. And, you know, corporate control's all about limiting discussion. You know, somebody brought up that term, something about monoculture, you know, in the forest. But we're in a monoculture. We don't talk about hardly anything besides sports and movies, and we're narrowing and narrowing our interests as a society to the point where it's very hard to hold a conversation like this because people really don't have ideas. We're not trained, you know, we're not educated to discuss these things, and we're just basically being dumbed down, Jack. That's the way how it goes.
Yeah, it's true that on a lot of issues, there's so little information out there that you can't really discuss it because we don't even know about it, and neither does anybody else.
Yeah.
BC government lying to us about fracking safety. You know, a few weeks ago, a minister of the government, I think his name is Rich Coleman, I mean, he was in the media just saying that fracking is safe. Fracking is safe. I mean, you know, it's an insult to all of us that somebody from our government who we're paying is giving us, I would say, lying to us. I mean, fracking isn't safe. I mean, I'll apologize if fracking is safe, but he should apologize if fracking isn't safe and they're poisoning us.
Yeah, and I'm under no illusion what's happening there in the legislature. This is corporate control. There's no difference, there's no separation between the government and corporations. They are the corporations. They're the mouthpieces for the corporations. And whatever it said, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It doesn't matter if it reflects reality or not. They're going to say it because they can get away with it. You know, they get away with it their whole lives. And as long as you keep saying it, you're always going to have a job.
And, you know, the role of the media is supposed to be, when our government officials are telling us something that isn't true, to really hold them up, hold them to account. But the media just reports it as if it is true. Oh yeah, fracking is safe. Oh yeah, we've got more forests now than we did 50 years ago.
Yeah, and you know, we're basically just dealing with, if we want to have a society that's fair and just, it does get down to we have to elect representatives We have to stay at the game. We don't have any other thing to do. We have to get, we have to send people there that are going to represent us.
And we have to change the game so we have a more democratic system for those people to go into. Right now, our whole political system is such a failure. It's comatose, it's dying, and that's the problem. Next issue. The working poor are paying 598% a year interest at Money Mart. And all the other payday loan companies, maybe some of them charge a little bit less, but basically almost 600% a year. That's what's being charged to the working poor.
And it's legal.
And it's legal.
What a great racket to get into. I mean, there's no sense of morals or ethics in any of this. It's predatorial. It's oppressive for the workers that maybe they can't get a bank account, so they have to go there and they get a measly, rotten little check, and then these guys get another piece of the action before they get their money. It's really sad.
Now, I heard that Van City was trying to start something better. I'm not sure if that's correct, but hopefully. Next issue, why is World Cup soccer getting 500 times more coverage than the CETA free trade agreement with Europe, the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership free trade agreement with Asia, the removal of parkland from our parks, genetically contaminated foods, climate change, etc., all these earth-shaking life and death issues, and World Cup soccer gets 500 times the coverage of all of them put together. I mean, is something wrong here?
Well, this is this massive industry for Olympics, World Cups, these massive sports spectacles all around the planet. They are huge distractions. And one could argue that there are some good things about it. I mean, I'm not a soccer fan,
Yeah.
and but
we all like to follow it, but
but on the other hand, what is going on here? And believe me, a lot of people are making a lot of money off this industry, off the sports industry. Some of these sports people are just being paid just incredible salaries, and it's all out of whack.
Yeah.
When I look at it, I just feel uneasy about it because I just know there's something really wrong about how it's being done. And it's too bad because so many people are being manipulated in the process.
I'll stop here for a minute and I'll say, how much time do we have left? 4 minutes? 4? Okay, great. Okay, moving on. Bosa Development Company is really kind of attacking a neighborhood in Victoria. I would say attacking. It's close to where I live. They're putting in a project that has nothing to do with what the neighborhood wants or what's best for the neighborhood. It's quite destructive for the neighborhood, but it's going to make Bosa a lot of money. It's at the corner of Pandora and Vancouver, where there's an old, I think, Catholic church school. The school is now closed, but the community also has a plan, and it's up to us. We've got to put pressure on our city government. This is in Victoria, the city government, to make sure that whatever is done is in the best interest of the people of the city, not in the best interest of a Vancouver development company.
And I haven't seen this development up, but often you see these. They're sort of like fortresses. They don't really meld into the community. They're large walls, tall buildings, huge shadows, and when those buildings get plunked into low-rise communities, it alters them forever. It just simply puts a stamp and says, yeah, this is where development's going to happen. Sooner or later, they'll squeeze out the residential areas and the larger buildings will arrive.
It's the North Park Neighborhood Association. If anybody wants to Google that, maybe you can find some information about what's going on. And we'll have to follow up a bit more on that. Vermont, the state of Vermont, passed a law several months ago saying that all genetically contaminated foods have to be labeled in Vermont. They are now in court, or no, there's an intent to sue now by Monsanto or the whatever industry group is going to sue them. Not a word in the media, not a word in our corrupt, lying, pathetic media about this vitally important issue about labeling genetically contaminated foods. 80% of Canadians want them labeled. Our governments do nothing. The media keeps it secret. The state of Vermont has passed a law. They're now under attack nothing.
Well, you know, it's a good news story, Jack. You know, one state can win a battle like this, and it changes the laws right across the world, really, but in the United States and Canada. And I think it's wonderful that they're doing it. I think the time has come. I really believe that this just might be the tipping point for GMOs, that they have to be labeled. It's just, if they're safe, why aren't they labeling it? Well, you know, it really flies in the face of reason. You know, if it's really no problem, why not declare that they're modified?
Where's the media? Where are our politicians? Last issue, the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations begin in the city of Ottawa tomorrow, July 3rd, as we're filming this. Well, when you see it, July 3rd will have passed, but there's several days of negotiations, 12 countries, this huge corporate sponsored free trade agreement with all, you know, it's the west coast of America and Canada, the United States, and down, and then Asian countries. We know nothing about it. We know nothing about what's being done. And, you know, it's just moving ahead.
It's corporations that are dividing up the world, Jack. This, to get around all other legislation that's been fought and people have worked for decades and decades, is wiped away with a swipe of a pen in the back rooms. It's a Harper plan. It's totally undemocratic, and it is an attack on freedom and democracy. And you know, they were going to have it in Vancouver, and at the very last moment they shifted to Ottawa so they keep the protesters away.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of protesters in Ottawa. Walter, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, Jack.
And thanks for watching Citizens Forum. Welcome to segment 2 of Citizens Forum, being filmed on Wednesday, July the 2nd in the Memorial Arena in Victoria. I'd like to thank again our volunteer crew and the Shaw staff that makes it all happen. In this segment, our guest is Vicky Chi. Vicky practices Chinese medicine here in Victoria.
Yes.
And I'll start off by telling my Chinese medicine story.
Sure.
About a year and a half ago, I was riding my bike and I hit a bus, so I was fairly badly hurt. My shoulder was injured, and I was taking Chinese medicine to loosen it up and you know, try to make my shoulder heal as well as it could. And actually, I'm very lucky. Things came along very well. But the amazing thing is this: 15 years ago, I had a small operation on my knee, and after that operation, I could never run. I never really had pain, but I couldn't run. If I started to run, it was painful. And after taking the Chinese medicine for my shoulder for a few months, my knee got better after 15 years. And I can run again. So I mean, I'm not running any marathons, but you know, I can run, which is very, very nice to be able to do. So that's my story of Chinese medicine. I think it works. You practice what's called the Yang, Y-A-N-G, Yang style of Chinese medicine.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us about that.
Yes. The Yang style of Chinese medicine is a little bit different from the modern Chinese medicine theory. So the Yang style, what is Yang means? Actually, we know in Chinese medicine we have the theory of yin and the yang. I think most people know that. So yin and the yang. So actually the yang part is the warm energy, the heat energy. Yeah. And so the original Chinese medicine, or some people say classical Chinese medicine, come from 2,000 years ago. And there is a book called Getting Sick from Cold Energy, okay?
Right.
And that's from 2,000 years ago, a Bible in Chinese medicine history. Yeah, and actually, because it is a Bible of Chinese medicine, that's why we really, really focus on yang energy. And the yang energy is a warm energy, which we can say sunshine energy. Yeah. So you feel warmer in summer, right? Because the sunshine is there. So nice. Everybody embrace the sunshine. And we can take off our heavy jacket, right? And we go for a walk. Yeah. We do a lot of things in summer because we love the summer. Why? Because there's more heat there and everything grow, prosperous, flowers, yeah, berries, everything. Yeah, that's why we wanted to focus on how to boost your sunshine energy of the body.
Okay. And what is the most, I guess that is the most important concept in your style of Chinese medicine, which is the warm energy and the danger of cold energy.
Yes, yes. Actually, from what I learned in the Yang style of Chinese medicine, I learned that cold energy, okay? So the opposite of warm energy is cold energy, right? So cold energy actually is the number one enemy to the body, human being's body, or maybe including all the animals, okay? So the number one enemy to the health is cold energy, and which can cause more than 80% of the disease, right? Yeah, so including all different kinds of pain syndrome, including even cancer, high blood pressure, okay, or like allergy, all different kinds of problem. Actually, the root problem is because the body catch too much cold energy, and that end up the body problem and disease.
And you yourself, when you moved here from Taiwan, which is a very warm country,
Yes.
had that kind of a problem.
To me, oh yes. Actually, the first, I think I moved to Victoria 12 years ago. And the first 6 years, my body was just getting colder and colder. And I can feel the cold energy come from my bone, yeah, like an air conditioner coming out. Yeah, so I couldn't, no matter how many clothes I put on, especially in winter, 6-month winter, right? Yeah, 6 months, okay. So, and I end up, okay, the bottom is so cold, but at the top of my body, I started to have nose bleeding. Yeah, so the heat come out from the top of my body, but the cold energy go there. Yeah, that means my body, cold energy and the warm energy cannot work together. So kind of separate, go to different direction. Okay, heat energy go there, cold energy, because the body organ too cold, was too cold. Yeah, and so I had the bleeding problem for on and off for about 1 year. Yeah, so after I met 6 years ago, I met the Yang style of Chinese medicine. After 1 week class, I realized, I needed to take some warm herbs to warm up my system. Do you know what happened, Jack? After 1 week warm herbs, my nose bleeding stopped. And gradually I feel more and more warm energy in my system. Yeah, and of course including my bone. Yeah, so I was cured by warm, sunshine, Yang energy herb. Yeah.
What are the main reasons that people come to see you?
Actually, all different kinds of problem. Yeah, honestly, in Chinese medicine, we don't divide the body into like a heart system, okay, liver, kidney, or brain, or your hand, arm, or feet, or leg. We don't divide into pieces, okay, to see the problem. We see the body as a whole together. Yeah, that's why in the principle of Chinese medicine is we call the 5 movement, 5 system of the movement, which called the 5 element. Yeah, so we see everything together. So lots of people who has all different kinds of problems, but mainly people I have seen more people with like a pain problem.
Pain?
Pain syndrome, all different kinds of pain, from head to toe. Okay, can be in head, headache, can be feet, okay, can be in the stomach, or chest, or neck. Yeah, that's the number one. More people come to see me, and second would be digestion problem. Yeah, all different kinds of digestion problem. Yeah, and yeah, that's most people come to, but all different kinds. But we treat. I treat the body as a whole, so I don't treat each symptoms. That's the important point of view. I treated the root, yeah, from the root. And what is the root of the all different kinds of problem? Yeah, doesn't matter your pain is in the head or under your feet. Yeah, actually, whenever your body have more cold energy, you have more pain. So in the Chinese medicine I practice, cold energy equal pain. More cold energy, you have more pain, including arthritis. Okay? And the less cold energy in your system, you have less pain. If you have no cold energy in your system, you have no pain. Yeah. So I treated all different kinds of problems actually. Yeah.
So if I came to you, let's say I had digestive problems and headaches, those
Yes.
two things that I wanted to deal with.
Yes.
The treatment would be to find the blockage or the cold energy and
Yes.
push that out of the body.
Exactly, with the warm herb. Yeah, depends on when I check the pulse, I can feel where your cold energies stay in your system, more surface level or middle level or deeper level. Yeah, and then we use different warm herbs to warm up your system, including your organs. And then when your organ getting warmer and warmer, so your energy, warm energy will start to clean all the cold energy out. Yeah, either from nose, like a runny nose, or some people can go from bowel movement, like diarrhea, okay, or from sweating. Yeah, so all the door of the body will open because your system is warmer. So when the door open, the cold energy get out. Then you got better. Yeah, that's from the root, what I mean.
And I guess the results are, with some people you can help them a lot, some people 60 or 80%, and with some people it just doesn't work.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah, because a lot of people come to see me, some people they wanted to have a faster result. Yeah, if they, maybe in 1 week they wanted to cure everything. Of course, I cannot help those kind of people. That's why we say patient has to be patient, right? So also depends on how long time we have the problem. Yeah. So I'm sure I have some problem I cannot help. Yeah, but I think most problem, yeah, Chinese medicine can help most of the problem. Yeah, as long as we have patience. Takes time, right? Yeah.
A lot of people, for example, children, they'll start the day with a breakfast of cereal and cold milk.
Yes, yes.
When a lot of people are having, for example, smoothies in the morning, which
Yes.
again are a cold food, or even a glass of juice. And all of us know when we go to a restaurant, they usually put a glass of ice
Yes,
water
yes.
on the table just
Yes.
before you eat, which in your style of medicine is not the best way to be going.
Yes.
So how about all of those different things?
As I said, I practice yang style of Chinese medicine, and the yang means warm energy. Okay, so the opposite of warm energy is cold energy, right? That's why how to protect the body from cold energy to get into the system and cause lots of problems. Yeah. So number one will be the weather, right? Yeah, because in winter we know we needed to put on more clothes to protect the body. Yeah. But the number two is food. Yeah. And as you said, lots of people are eating cold milk, cold smoothie, yeah, for breakfast. And there is a principle of the energy flow in Chinese medicine. We call the cycle of sunshine energy flow. And in the morning, actually, that's the sunshine energy is going to rise up. Of the body, in the body, because we follow the nature of the sunshine energy. So in the morning, sunshine energy rise up. So the sunshine energy of the body also rise up in the morning. But if you eat or drink something cold, actually you are suppressing your sunshine energy to the bottom. Yeah, and if you do it every day for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, my God, it sounds like a small thing, okay, a small habit, but if you do it 30 years, it will end up a very bad result, which can cause lots of disease or problem for you. Yeah, so I don't recommend the people to eat cold food in the morning. The best is cooked food. Yeah, whatever, just needed to cook warm. Yeah, then you are helping your sunshine energy to rise up. And then the whole day you will have lots of energy. Yeah, that's my suggestion about the smoothie. Yeah, I know lots of people are doing that.
Yeah.
I have some patients, when they came to see me, they told me they have been eating smoothie for many years. So I have to tell them, please stop. Otherwise, I cannot help you a lot. Yeah, and if they follow my suggestion, they stop, actually the medicine treatment help faster. Yeah, okay? Mm-hmm. So cooked food, warm food for the breakfast.
Yeah. And now every time I go to a restaurant, and they put the glass of ice water on the table,
Yes.
like everybody else, I used to drink it.
Yes.
And of course, cold beer. There's another one that
Yes.
so many people here.
Yes. One more thing I would like to remind, because it's summer right now. Actually, in Chinese medicine theory, summertime, the organs are colder than winter time. Why? Because in summer, all the heat energy go to the surface. That's why we feel warm and we have lots of energy to do a lot of things. And that means the organ is colder. All the organs are colder. But the winter, all the heat has to go back to organ to protect the organ, make sure the organ function properly. Okay? And that's why in winter, organs are warmer than the organ in summer. So in summer, actually, we are not supposed to eat or drink too much cold food. Otherwise, you make your organ even colder. And then in winter, when the heat energy has to go back, they cannot go back. And then that will have some problem for the health.
Well, Chinese medicine has a history going back thousands of years, and it's helped me, that's for sure. I know it's helped a lot of people. Vicki, thank you very much for being on.
You are very welcome. My pleasure.
And thank you for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.
Welcome. Quite often when we talk about inflammation, it's usually considered to be a negative thing. And in the event of an acute injury, inflammation plays a very important role in the rejuvenation of the tissue. So often these days we reach for anti-inflammatories and even corticosteroids to suppress that inflammatory process, and sometimes that can leave a negative impact on the tissue, rendering it into a more chronic injured state. So today on the show, we are going to be talking about prolotherapy. My name is Cameron Moffat. I'm an osteopathic physician here in Victoria, and you are watching Choices. I'd like to today actually introduce Dr. Deidre O'Neill, a naturopathic physician and also a prolotherapist. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you for coming on. Now, prolotherapy is not something that I think a lot of people have heard about, so let's start off with a general description of what prolotherapy actually is.
So prolotherapy comes from the term to proliferate.
Okay.
And the basic concept is that we are working on strengthening the ligaments, tendons, and joint capsule and supporting the body to do that.
Okay, okay. So for the viewers at home then, maybe you can explain what a joint capsule is. I think most people know what a joint is, but maybe explain a little bit about the capsule.
Right, so here's a picture of a knee model. And in the knee model, we have our patella, so our kneecap, and then we have the joint inside here.
Okay.
We have ligaments that are wrapping around the joint capsule to keep it stable and keep it in place. And when we look inside here, this is an area that tends to have a lot of wear and tear for a lot of people in this medial capsule. And on the bottom here is also the medial meniscus, which is also an area of a lot of tearing.
Okay. So then the joint capsule then is actually the soft tissue that forms like a balloon around the joint.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay,
And so in prolotherapy, what we're doing is it's an injection therapy, and the injection is into the joints or onto the enthesis, and the enthesis is the spot where the tendons and the ligaments attach onto the bone.
okay, okay. And then what is the principle behind the injection?
So what we're doing is we're injecting medicine and nutrients into the joint capsule or along the ligaments or the tendons
Okay.
at the insertion of the bone to help to bring blood flow into the area.
Okay,
That blood flow has growth factors that will turn around and build up the
build up the healing factor, the healing process?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
because my understanding is prolotherapy is a little bit different than, say, injecting corticosteroids into the joint capsule. So corticosteroids, I think, are suppressing, are they not, the inflammation?
So corticosteroids stops the pain, so the
Okay.
patient feels that they can continue to do the activity that they were doing before that possibly put them into that injured state to begin with. And
okay,
in that, then you can also further damage the joint.
okay,
Versus with prolotherapy, what we're doing is we're stimulating the body to heal itself and to strengthen itself. And at the end of the day, we end up also having no pain either.
okay, well, that's good.
Mhm.
So then the healing process is kicked back in. Would that be an appropriate way of looking at it? It's restarted in a chronic state?
Exactly.
Okay, would prolotherapy be appropriate for an acute injury?
It is for a high-level athlete who is wanting to keep on with their game,
Right.
to help to stimulate and to bring more blood flow into the joint.
Okay, but not necessarily for the average weekend rugby player?
Not usually, no.
No, what's the difference then?
Because we actually want to encourage the body to be able to do it itself. And if the body hasn't been able to do it itself, then that's when we turn around and use the prolotherapy to augment.
Okay, so that leads into the next question. In your practice, who would be good for prolotherapy? Who's the likely candidate that you would see in your practice?
I see a lot of golfers that had injuries to their shoulders. I see skiers or soccer players that injure their knees. A lot of construction workers who do a lot of lifting with their the rebar throughout the day.
Okay.
I see wrist injuries from overuse on the computers.
Excuse me, would most of these be chronic that you're seeing, or they're not acute then?
Most have chronic in the point that it's been maybe a few weeks and it hasn't gotten better.
Okay,
That's when I'll start to see somebody, or that they might have an overuse injury that has been going on for many years.
oh, okay, all right. Who would not be a likely candidate then for prolotherapy? Are there any contraindications of its use?
The biggest candidate person that would not be suitable for prolotherapy is that somebody who has had a complete tear. So we need some form of a bridge. So if you have a complete tear to this ligament here, this MCL ligament in the knee, then we're not going to be able to repair it with prolotherapy. So partial tears are good candidates,
Okay.
but not for a complete tear. That's when surgery is more indicated.
Okay. And are there any particular age groups that you can't work with? Would this be appropriate for a 2-year-old?
No. So one of the things that this is an injection therapy, so by that very nature we end up not seeing children,
Okay.
but also we want to see that children have basically finished their growth spurts
Okay.
before they come in. But most kids won't come in to see us to begin with because of the nature of having the needles as well.
And how many injections typically are used in a treatment protocol?
In one session, I'm fairly thorough in terms of making sure that we've covered all areas that have had any injury.
Okay.
And then for patients that come back and see me, so then they'll come in for the first appointment, and then at 2 weeks they'll come back in again. And then I see patients on usually a monthly basis for 6 to 10 injections, depending on the severity of the injury.
Okay. So about 6 to 10 months then, possibly,
Right.
a time frame. Okay. And are there cases where it just, other than the actual full tear, are there cases where it won't work?
I find also somebody who can't, who has a difficulty in healing. So smokers, diabetics, they're
Diabetics.
also usually not the best at this. This treatment is not the best for them.
So you need good circulation.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I understand you're going to give us a demo.
Exactly.
All
yeah.
right. Maybe you could quickly just show the audience where you're going to be working on this knee, and then we'll take a break and get everything set up, folks, to actually do the demo. So where would you be working today?
So on the patient that we're seeing today, I'm going to be working inside the joint, so the interarticular space. So that's in this spot right through here. So we're going to do an injection right through that spot, as well as along the medial collateral ligament. That, and so I'll be doing injections here, here, and here.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, let's get set up and we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. So we're now going to do a demo on prolotherapy. Dr. O'Neill is going to be doing an injection on a knee, and perhaps Dr. O'Neill, you could actually explain to us the nature of this injury, or the nature of this, why this person came in to see you, and what you're attempting to do.
So this patient came in with an injury to the knee that basically with knee pain and wanting to look at another option because wanted to get back doing what she loved to do and get back to running.
Okay.
And in that, she had an old soccer injury. So with that old soccer injury, she had tears to her medial meniscus over on this side here, her medial collateral ligament that we were showing as well in the earlier segment. And then I'm also going to do an injection into the interarticular space inside the joint.
So then these, I gather these are not tattoos.
Right. So I've marked the patient, and so ahead of time I have done a betadine swab to clean the area, and then I've also just done some markings of her kneecap and her patellar tendon and the area that I'm going to be injecting along the medial collateral ligaments, so I know where to go.
Okay. All right, and now you've got your injections that you're going to be using. Maybe you can explain to us what in fact is in there.
Right, so this is what I use, and the primary ingredient that I use in prolotherapy is dextrose,
Okay.
which is basically a sugar, and that's giving all the energy towards the healing.
Sure. Energy is sugar. Sugar is energy.
Right,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
right. And so as well there's procaine, which is a local anesthetic, and B12, which is geared for healing the nervous system as well in the area.
Okay. So the painkiller is for the actual puncturing, or is it for the healing process being painful? What's it being used for?
It just helps the patient after the treatment because with prolotherapy, after the treatment, it's common to have a little bit of swelling. It's common to have a little bit more pain as well.
Okay.
So it helps to ease this process for the patient.
How long will the painkillers work for?
About 2 hours.
Okay, and that's usually enough then for that process to get going?
Well, for the process to get going and they get home and they get relaxed and then that's when the painkiller is wearing off, and then they can have a little bit more pain as well as a little bit more swelling in the area.
Okay, so I gather then really someone doesn't want to go home after one of these and put a lot of ice on it or try to suppress that healing process. You want it to be vibrant and quite full.
Right, so that's putting ice on the area is opposite to what we're really trying to do because we're trying to bring blood flow into the area. And with what ice does is it constricts the blood vessels, closes up the blood vessels.
Right, right.
And so that's similar to a recommendation that I have for patients when they've had an acute injury. So they just got injured on a soccer field, that I don't want them going home and putting ice on either.
Right away.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Because
yes. Go ahead.
Because in the sense is that joints already as it is have little blood supply, and putting ice over that area further constricts the blood flow into that area
Okay.
and makes it difficult for the body to bring all of its recruitment of the growth factors in the collagen cells to repair an area. So
So that goes the opposite of pretty much every high school coach, or every time I've ever been injured, the first thing anybody ever does is want to pack ice on it. So that maybe has been something that we haven't understood fully, and now with prolotherapy thinking, maybe keeping the ice off of it for a while, for what, maybe an hour, 2 hours, 10 hours? What would be appropriate to let that process go on without icing it?
well, there's actually a lot of studies nowadays coming up with the fact that we don't want to be using ice, not just from a prolotherapy standpoint, but we're starting to see more of it in studies that we actually want to keep the ice off and rather move the area, use an analgesic, so some form of a pain medication, not so much an anti-inflammatory, because again, that would work against that process.
Right.
And treatment. And so
Okay.
this is what the patient here is doing, is treatment.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, maybe there'll be a whole revolution now on how acute injuries are actually treated.
Exactly, I'm
Particularly
starting
on-
to see that, yeah.
Particularly, on the soccer fields with young kids. The ice packs are always handy.
Right.
Okay.
right.
All right. So maybe you can explain to us now where you will actually be injecting.
So I'm going to first start off with injecting inside the joint and coming right along through here.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'll start there.
Sure. Okay.
So I'm right inside the joint capsule at this point.
And each injection will get one full syringe.
Doing inside the joint usually is a full syringe.
Okay.
In the other areas, not so much.
Okay.
And so this is a very similar procedure as doing a corticosteroid injection on a patient in terms of that the experience that the patient has.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The difference being is that this is not trying to suppress the pain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead, we end up coming to a true healing of the pain so that the joint is in a better state,
Mm-hmm.
and then the pain isn't there. So the next part I'm going to do is along the patient's medial collateral ligament. And I'm going to come at 3 spots along the medial collateral ligament.
You were showing us earlier where the ligament is actually attaching to the bone.
Exactly. So I'm coming right along the bone here. And there's a lot of attachments along the bone for the ligament, so I want to get all that area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still coming along the medial collateral ligament here. And this is the bottom insertion of the medial collateral ligament, as well as where a lot of the tendons of the muscles along the thigh attach.
Okay.
And then we're done.
Okay. Now, would someone be able to weight bear on this immediately, or would it be
Oh,
advised?
Absolutely, yeah. So most of my patients can go home, they can do 80% of their normal activity level.
Okay.
And for some people, they have a little bit of swelling, so they need to take it a little bit easy after the treatments. And they can expect to have some more pain. Some patients have no pain at all afterwards.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So you said 80% of their normal activity for how long? 1 day, 1 week?
Within that first week, the treatment that we did today, the effect works over the next 2 to 3 weeks, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. And then when would this person come back for the next treatment? What would be the sequence?
I usually see patients then at a 3 to 4 week interval to
Okay.
come back for follow-up treatments.
All right. And do you advise at all in your practice on any exercises or stretching or any modalities like that that would augment this therapy?
Yeah, I like to have my patients continue with their stretching programs. I like to have my patients seeing other practitioners as well, whether it be with the osteopaths or physiotherapy,
Okay.
to help to retrain the body to learn how to move in a different way as the body's healing itself with the prolotherapy.
Great. Okay. Deidre, thank you very much for coming on the show. That was fascinating, and
Thank
that's
you, Kevin.
not something you see every day on TV. So, wonderful. Well, that's it, folks. We've run out of time. I'd like to thank you for watching Choices. Of course, the format of this show and the interest of this show is to bring awareness to you, the viewers at home, of the different therapies that are available here in the Greater Victoria area. Again, on behalf of the crew and at Choices and also here at Shaw, thank you very much for watching. Next month, we're going to be having somebody on the show discussing with us something called Traeger therapy, which I think you'll find very fascinating. It's very different, does not involve needles. So for those of you that found the show a bit queasy, this one will be maybe a little less needling. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, please stay healthy. We'll see you again later. Bye for now.